Hi there, you're listening to an RACV podcast. I'm Nick, your host for today. At RACV, we believe that everyone should feel safe. Since 2023, we've been surveying Victorians to help understand how safe people feel at home and in their local communities. The responses provided help inform both the services we offer as well as the issues we advocate for. In November 2025, RACV launched the Home Safety Pulse survey, calling on all Victorians to share with us how safe they're feeling at home. With me today is Liz Carey, the General Manager for Corporate Affairs at RACV, who's going to help us unpack the results of the survey. Thank you so much for joining me, Liz.
Great to be here.
Liz, more than 5,000 Victorians took part in this survey. What were the core results that came from it? What is Victoria telling us?
1 in 5 Victorians say they don't feel safe in their homes. So since we last did this survey, a third say they feel less safe than they did 12 months ago.
Do we know why perhaps these Victorians feel less safe than they did a year ago?
We know that compared to 12 months ago, the top reasons are that 94% attributed this to crime increasing, 32% said it was linked to a neighbour experiencing crime, 14% said it was due to their own personal experience of crime. And we know that 94% of Victorians that we surveyed are saying they are seeing it more in the media and they're seeing it more affecting them in their home. And so we know that when people have experienced crime or their neighbours or friends have experienced crime, your perception of safety will also change. And so you want to take measures to make yourself feel safe. And so what we do know from our survey is that those who said that they do feel safer, and just don't forget, 4 out of 5 Victorians are feeling safe in our community, but those who do feel safer actually took measures themselves.
And we've gotten respondents from people right across the state, right? We've had 440 postcodes, metro respondents, regional respondents. Is there a difference in how people are feeling across the state, or is everyone feeling a little bit unsure about their security at the moment?
I think there's just a growing sense of unease about the sense of safety in the community. And it is varied. It's very personal. It's very complex. How I experience safety and how I like to feel safe will be really different to how you feel safety in your community.
Absolutely. There are people who won't even lock their door and they'll feel safe as can be. And then there are people who've put on a full system, lock everything, lights, camera, and still don't feel safe. I think it is important to acknowledge, Liz, that while perception of safety from our respondents has certainly dropped, crime in Victoria is higher than we've seen in the last few years. Criminal offences, according to Crime Statistics Victoria, for the year ending 2025, those criminal offences are up 4.2% on the year prior. And they're also reporting crime is at its highest rate since 2016.
Yes, we are seeing those higher rates of crime, and that is impacting on perceptions of safety, and particularly if you've experienced it yourself, which is 14% of those that feel less safe. And then also if your neighbours are experiencing crime as well, that goes into your perception of safety in the community.
So you've talked a little bit about security measures, and I know the survey touched on different types of security measures that people have in their homes in Victoria. What are those security measures that we're relying on to secure our properties?
There's a range of security measures that you can rely on. It could be a doorbell camera. It could be a home security system. It's making sure all your windows and doors are locked. You've got access to a locked garage. It's also talking to your neighbours and knowing your neighbours. And sometimes it can even be making sure your garden is clear from the window so you have good visuals out to the street.
Was there any sort of separation in the Home Safety Pulse survey between demographics? Do we know whether people in regional areas compared to metropolitan areas felt more or less safe?
Well, we know from our survey that regional Victorians do feel slightly safer than our metropolitan peers because of that sense of community. And we know that for metropolitan Victorians, it's mainly about where you live and the architecture around you and the built environment. So it might be that because you live in an apartment, you've got a lot more people around you, and that actually came out in our survey results.
That's really interesting, that split between the two. You're right, like maybe some of us metropolitan Victorians could learn a thing or two from having a sense of community.
Well, it's about connection. It's about connection and feeling healthy, and it goes to your mental health and connection with your neighbours, with other people in your community. You can do that very easily by there's neighbourhood watch groups, there are WhatsApp groups and communities. I'm part of one of those in my communities, and it just makes you feel more connected.
Does it make you feel more that everyone's looking out for each other?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. You feel there's a lot of comfort that comes from knowing that someone else is looking out for you. And whether that is just your property or whether that's personally for you as well, it all adds into your actual perception of safety.
And I really liked what you said before about, getting to know your neighbours, increasing your sense of, connection throughout the community, because that's something that can help you improve your perception of safety and will cost you nothing,
Yeah, these are free measures. They're free. Say hello to your neighbour. You can swap numbers. You can just say, I'm going on holidays. Would you mind keeping an eye out for anyone that might look suspicious to you, and just text me if you do. There's a lot of measures that you can take that make you feel safer in the home, and that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Absolutely. I think it's important that we also talk about vehicle security at home, because many Victorians have one or more cars or vans or other vehicles stored at their property. And we also know that, according to Crime Statistics Victoria, that around 32,000 vehicles were stolen during 2025. Now, that's not the highest it's been, but it's pretty far up there. So considering that vehicles are commonly stolen from or close to a person's home, what did the Home Safety Pulse survey tell us about people's vehicle security?
So no surprises that of the Victorians that we surveyed, 1/5 said that they don't feel that their vehicle is secure at home. And there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of our respondents probably don't have access to a locked garage that's off street. So they are relying on parking on street. And that, I think, adds into the layer of how they feel about their vehicle being safe at home.
That's so true. There's a lot of people now who live in units or townhouses or apartments don't have the locked garage. I have a garage door, and I worked out the other day that you can just lift it up, which made me feel much less secure. So for people in those positions where they don't perhaps have somewhere secure to park their vehicle, what can they perhaps do to improve their perception of their vehicle safety?
Well, this is where aftermarket technology can actually really help those Victorians. So RACV recommends steering wheel locks. There is an OBD device that will help prevent vehicles being stolen. And I think where you can park under lighting and street lighting, that will add and help reduce your vehicle being stolen.
I think the lighting thing is such an important one, because it's amazing how effective it can be. Just having a sensor light that turns on at movement, reasonably cheap, strangely effective, helps deter a lot of opportunistic crime. So if you don't have the ability to install lights yourself, definitely parking under a light. That's a great tip. Liz, do we know whether people who are using more aftermarket security features like a steering wheel lock or a car alarm or an OBD port lock are feeling more confident about their vehicle security than perhaps those are just locking their car and hoping for the best?
We know that using aftermarket technology like a steering wheel lock does help your sense of security and safety with your vehicle.
And I guess the other benefit from those aftermarket security features is that they also work when you drive your car away from your property, which of course cars tend to be a lot. So, if you've got a steering wheel lock, you've got an OBD port lock, they're still going to help give you more of a perception of safety or help you feel more secure about your vehicle when you're parked at work, when you're parked at the supermarket. So can be a great investment if people are trying to feel a bit more secure about their vehicle, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. And especially if you're going on holidays or to a suburb or a community that you're not familiar with, can definitely assist with feeling better about the safety of your vehicle.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about how people felt in regards to the safety in the community, because the Pulse survey also touched on that. So what did the survey reveal about how safe Victorians feel outside their homes, in their local communities? Walking to the shops, going to the park with their children, walking to school or work perhaps. What can you tell me?
So a quarter of Victorians that we surveyed told us that they did not feel safe in their communities. And there's a lot that goes into that feeling of safety in the community. It's also that connection piece. It could be street lighting. It could be the police presence, so visibility of police in your community, as well as that perception of what's going on in your community that really impacts how you feel.
What are some measures that people called out in the survey as saying help them feel safer in their local communities?
Victorians told us that a visible police presence, increased lighting, visibility around their street and community, so trimming back, overgrown hedges along their commute or their footpath, and then also just that connection with community and community groups.
So the Home Safety Pulse survey also asked Victorians what actions they'd like to see the government implement to help improve home and community safety. So Liz, what did our respondents say they'd like the government to do to help them feel more safe at home and in their local communities?
Well, there's a range of responses from our Victorians that we surveyed. Half actually want some financial support to help increase their safety through the security rebate. We know other jurisdictions across Australia have introduced this to much success, and it actually will help people feel safer at home.
And is that something that RACV would also seek to support?
We're advocating for the state government to introduce a security rebate for Victorians. It could be for eligible households that are finding it tough in this environment, especially with cost of living, to help them feel safe at home, and can be low-cost solutions as well.
So Liz, while there was a lot of support for government to help fund security measures at home for individuals, there was also quite a lot of support for funding for local governments, that is councils, for them to help improve security measures in their local communities too, right?
That's right. No surprises that people really want that individual help at home when it comes to feeling safe. But of those surveyed, 38% said they want their local councils funded more to improve street lighting and how our streets are designed and how our community centres are designed to increase that feeling of safety in the community.
Are these actions or initiatives that RACV is going to take to government and perhaps help support for locals?
We'll be sharing the results of RACV's Home Safety Pulse with governments, local government, state governments, to advocate for change and represent the Victorians that we represent every day and helping them improve their safety at home.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Liz. You've really helped unpack some of these survey results, but even so, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. So if people want to find out more about the Home Safety Pulse survey, where can they go?
The full results can be found at racv.com.au/have-your-say.
Thanks so much for joining me today, Liz.
Thanks, Nick.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. For more information about the Home Safety Pulse survey, visit racv.com.au/have-your-say.
Get more news and advice by downloading the RACV app to stay up to date with all our latest home, motoring and travel content.